What was your Thanksgiving drama this year? My dad's wife is back on meth. She hid his keys inside his car so that he can't find them. But it will still start push to start car. So she can drive without him knowing. She also stuck a magnetic tracker thing on under his seat. I also found out that my cousin with Down syndrome can knock back whiskey just like she's drinking water. She parties harder than I ever could, and I'm jealous. A large mixing bowl full of yams disappeared into nothing while everyone was trying to get food on the table. We have looked absolutely everywhere there is to look, and it's just gone. 9 people seriously questioning their sanity now. There are lots of things that could have happened to the yams themselves, but the bowl being missing is a real head scratcher. My grandpa who has dementia asked why there was cranberry sauce on his pants and if my mother could clean it up. No one made anything with cranberries. He was bleeding from his penis. To the hospital we went, and he had a massive kidney stone he was trying to push out stuck halfway in his urethra, which also, as you guessed, tore it up and made him bleed via urethral rupture. My in-laws have a place at a lake an hour or so from our house. Every time we go my sil takes the bedroom with a full bed and toddler bed for herself and her one child who sleeps with her. Her other 2 children sleep with my in-laws. My husband and our 3 children are left trying to figure out where to sleep, usually on an air mattress on the living room floor. Well, we came early and took the room. She is livid, stomping around and slamming doors. Has been for 4 hours. My 21-year-old sister will graduate from college in less than a month. My brother congratulated her on being the first person in our family to graduate college without getting pregnant. Turns out that's not true. She started sobbing and got in her car and drove away. Whoops. My mom died last night. This Thanksgiving pretty much sucked. Luckily, she had plenty of family that loved her, and it's been alright grieving. Unfortunately, my sister's last interaction with her was doing CPR. She's traumatized. Everyone is sad. Petty family drama and politics did not make an appearance this year. Just lots of prayers and people telling me they are sorry. 2 bites into my meal at my mother-in-law's house. My Ring doorbell alerted me to someone ringing my doorbell. I pulled it up and catch an old man entering my house. I bolted out of my chair and went home. She lives close. I get there and no one is there. I pull up the video and see he exited like 20 seconds after he entered grumbling HRRRM wrong house. The funny thing was as we were leaving I thought to myself, did I lock the front door? What are the ducking odds? My food was still warm when I got back to my mother-in-law's house. My 12-year-old cousin wouldn't eat any of the food that my 80-year-old grandma spent the whole day making because it wasn't Brazilian. His parents are 100% Italian, and we do not have any Brazilian relatives. His parents are brain surgeons, so they are loaded, and their excuse was that he doesn't eat homemade stuff, only high-end. I have no idea what that had to do with Brazilian food, but I'm assuming it's some sort of phase. I don't even think he's had Brazilian food before. Edit. Holy shit, I woke up with a lot of replies, but for clarification, my dad and his whole side of the family were born in Italy but had me here, so I'm American, and they celebrate Thanksgiving for me and my siblings' younger cousins. Had to call a tow truck on some teenager friend of front neighbor's kid because he wouldn't move his car that was blocking my mom's driveway. She told him to move it since she needed to get something for dinner. He answered that he shouldn't had to move it because it's a public street. I go get the stuff and then get home. I again tell him to move it because I want to park up the driveway. Shouts at me that I can find parking up the street. Now he has no car for Thanksgiving and cop gave him a ticket. In-laws are visiting from out of town, except father-in-law decided to leave yesterday and go home before Thanksgiving and did not come back. He told my wife and I, just not his wife. Mother-in-law is still here. For your information, this is normal for him. My mom's had some issues that I think my dad has been downplaying. She has good days and bad, but today was bad. Nothing she said made sense. No sentence connected to another sentence, and sometimes the end of a sentence wouldn't connect to the beginning. And she was very frustrated with everyone that we didn't understand. She had conversations with people that weren't there, swore people were there that were either dead or hadn't shown up. It was just my dad, her, and I. Very obvious who wasn't there. She saw me after dinner and said, "I'm so glad you finally made it. You missed it. It was a madhouse earlier with the kids running around." I could go on and on, but my dad brushed it off as her just being sleep deprived. It was kinda like talking to someone who was half awake and half dreaming. But this has happened a few times before. Not as bad, but she has refused to see a doctor. The tearjerker was when we gently helped her to understand that all night no one else had been here, and I could see it in her eyes. She said, "You're right. I do need to see someone." So I guess that's what we are doing in the morning. I hope she's having a good day, and it will be easier to bring her. Is this dementia? I don't know, man. I've never seen it before. I got tired of all their mockery and destructive jokes and ended up leaving out of the blue. Best Thanksgiving ever. I finally learned to have some self-respect. The gravy was a war crime. The plastic cooking utensil melted into it. I was the first to find out. My cousin unfortunately came out as a flat earther while I was showing off my brand new telescope I bought recently. My aunt pretended to be paralyzed from COVID to avoid taking care of her sickly mother. Had to work. Multiple residents in the lobby. One resident drops part of her meal she was taking to family. Small child is knocked over by the extremely helpful dog who couldn't wait to assist with cleanup. One resident argued with her daughter when she arrived. Told her daughter that she wasn't going to dinner because half the family is unvaccinated. Another resident had their plans completely ducked when her son's transmission went out and was unable to pick her up, and poor guy was stuck at the halfway point and had to wait a few hours for a tow. And the last of it so far. Dude comes back from family dinner. He stops to chat. Apparently their holiday meal almost came to blows when the black sheep of the family turned up uninvited and tried to bung money from their elderly mother. Still have a few people out and still have a few hours left on shift, so there may be more to come as people stop by the desk to talk about their evening. My mom died in a house fire about 6 months ago, and my dad's new girlfriend of less than 2 months, who I've only met twice, just moved into the house after repairs were finished. This complete stranger then moved her 10-year-old daughter in as well and completely decorated our childhood home in her family pictures and ugly Texas-themed decor. And then they didn't invite either me or my brother to Thanksgiving dinner, which has never happened in either of our lives before. Really hoping 2022 is a better year. My mom found out a week ago that she has terminal lung cancer and has 12 months to live. Needless to say, there was a cloud over the meal. My sister-in-law let everyone know that her husband has a small dong. I got first and second degree burns on my foot and calf from boiling water. My kids got hammered wed night. One got left at the bar and walked 3 miles to get home. I woke up 3 AM and saw that one kid was missing, so I called him. He was still a mile from home, so I drove to get him. When I got to him, the police were questioning him. Said they had a report of a man with a weapon having a mental health crisis. Luckily they got another call and let my doofus go home with me. Showed up to the in-laws. Mother-in-law nowhere to be seen. Father-in-law is in the kitchen working on almost finished dinner. We are told mother-in-law isn't feeling well and is in the bathroom. Husband goes to check on her. Comes back a while later. Turns out she was stressed and ornery earlier in the day, so father-in-law offered her one of his edibles he has for medical purposes. She ate her first ever edible on Thanksgiving. Got dinner halfway done. Then ended up on the floor of the bathroom with dizzy spells and nausea. By the time we finished up dinner she had fallen asleep. We moved her to her bed, then ate dinner without her. It was weird. The power went out at the host's house and I ended up cooking and hosting at the last minute. The drama was all only in my head, but I got through it, didn't drink a drop. My mother-in-law always buys Thanksgiving dinner, and this time she didn't notice she bought the raw turkey, and it wasn't until an hour before dinner when she learned she had to cook it rather than warm it up. My parents' cat chose them after fires took over our state last Thanksgiving. She came to the door and decided she was ours. They tried to find her owner with no luck. Thanksgiving morning this year, cat is missing. My parents are yelling about how she stayed for a year and chose to go back. They're tearing up the house. She had just been to the vet, so they thought maybe she was upset. Hours later they find her in a closet they already looked in. She was cuddled up in some blankets and sleeping. I think she was sore from a vaccine she got. My mom is in tears. My dad won't let the cat's feet touch the floor. She is being carried everywhere and fed treats in his arms. Drama. My dad and stepmom were ragging on me, which is pretty normal. I came to their house for Thanksgiving and my brother showed up. My brother and I haven't seen each other in about 4 years. Anyway, so they are going on about me, and my brother is getting visibly uncomfortable. They've been like this to me my whole life, and I think my brother had that realization very suddenly, same as I did when my girlfriend pointed it out. It was good to see someone get upset about the things they say to me. It makes me realize I'm not crazy. My 17-year-old cousin stood up in the middle of dinner and announced he got a girl pregnant and she was keeping the baby. Most people laughed until about 30 awkward seconds went by, and one by one we started realizing that he was in fact serious when he started going into details. My 80-year-old grandma, who hasn't had a drink of alcohol in over a decade, drank wine straight out of the bottle after. There's a strong possibility that my stepmother sabotaged my stepsister's cooking. My 10-year-old son beat me at ping pong twice. Legally he owns the house now. We found out grandma gets competitive as heck in beer pong. Thanksgiving was supposed to be my wife and me in Oregon, but then my father passed away on Sunday. Booked a red-eye flight to get home to be with mom and help out with things. Despite being a poor cook, I swung by the grocery store on Tuesday so I could prepare something for the two of us. Turned out okay. My Thanksgiving dinner was me, my parents, and my younger sister. Just the four of us at my parents' home. Mom got a text message from my aunt mom's sister about how grandma mom's mom was bad-mouthing the food she made and talking about how her boy's mom and aunt's brothers can't be expected to eat this stuff. Mom texted aunt back with, tell her that guests don't get to complain about free food. They just get to choose if they want to eat or not. Apparently aunt took this advice, because about 20 minutes later mom got several texts and voicemails she didn't answer her phone about how aunt kicked people out early and how mom ruined Thanksgiving by telling aunt to say that. This is why we stopped going to family Thanksgivings, by the way. My boyfriend's brother bought over these really spicy chips he got at Five Below. I think they are called the spiciest chips in the world, I don't know, lol. Anyways, both of them ate one. About 5 minutes later, I walk into the kitchen and I see my boyfriend with tears rolling down his face and stuffing ice cream in his face, laughing my butt off. Then he disappeared for a little bit. So I went upstairs and found him laying in the hallway, drenched in sweat, barely able to even speak. He said he threw up and he wasn't human for the next little bit. Both their grandparents were calling them idiots, lol. None. My wife's extended family ticked us off last year, hurt her bad. So, we ate out for the first time ever. When we came home, I noticed that she was stress-free. This year, she asked me to go out again. We did today. Went to our local Cracker Barrel, and it was good. Above all, she is stress-free, which is good. We found out my brother is not the biological father of his 23-year-old son. Only his mother has known all these years. Father-in-law got drunk, took his shirt off, and then arm wrestled my son, lost. Then tried to tackle his daughter, my wife also lost. Everyone is worried grandma has dementia, but for some reason she made a pie. Everyone ate it and pretended it was pie. Not sure what to call it. It was in a pie pan. There was no crust. It had apples. My grandmother's dog literally died an hour before dinner. My mom, who I've been no contact with for most of my life, said she wanted to reconcile and please come to Thanksgiving so she could see her grandson. She wasn't there when we arrived and told my sister that she didn't want to have dinner with us. Literally nobody cared, and we had a great Thanksgiving without her. Honestly dodged a bullet. My great grandmother referred to my baby cousin as cute, but odd. The baby has Down syndrome. Had to listen to my dad talk about how the communists are conspiring with our podunk town's Walmart to make the aisles narrower. An argument about the Left Behind series being fictional or not. My aunt got upset because my cousin and I called the series fictional, not Christian. However, neither of us were attempting to debate the validity of the Bible's telling of the end times. We were simply stating that the series was fictional by definition. My puppy wouldn't stop barking at the turkey roaster. A 22-year-old woman showed up at my house crying because she was lost and asked me if I could help her find her boyfriend's house. I was just about to put my streaks on the grill. My wife and I had a couple drinks at this point, so I offered to walk her to her boyfriend's house. She knew that he lived near the jail and that was only about a 15 minutes walk from my house. While we were walking, she said that her phone and food stamp debit card got stolen recently, so she couldn't call her boyfriend. We ended up walking the area I thought he would love, and based upon her very incomplete description of where he lived, she said that some of the sites looked familiar, but she wasn't sure if we were in the right area. At one point we found a cop and she asked him for help, but he said that he was busy responding to a call. After walking a good chunk of my small hometown, we found his house, a 2-mile or so walk that ended up being just a few blocks from my house. It was a nice walk. My dog enjoyed it, and I got to help someone. She is my daughter's age and I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,